The chamber of the Galactic Council was larger than any city James had ever seen. The ceiling curved so high it faded into shadow, filled with slow-moving lights that looked like distant stars. Rows of towering seats circled the floor, each one occupied by a different alien judge. Some were tall and thin, others wide and heavy, and some looked more like machines than living beings. All of them were watching the two humans standing alone at the center. James stood straight, his hands at his sides, his face calm even though his heart beat hard. Emily stood beside him, her shoulders squared, her eyes steady. They wore simple dark uniforms with no weapons, no armor, and no symbols of power. Humanity had come with nothing but words and truth. Across the chamber, a low sound rolled through the air. It was the council speaking, many voices joined together through machines that turned strange sounds into clear speech. Humanity of Earth, the voice said, slow and heavy. You have been summoned to answer for your kind. Michael and Jessica sat in a smaller gallery behind a clear barrier. They were not allowed to speak. They were only witnesses. Michael leaned forward slightly, his hands clasped, while Jessica watched Emily with quiet concern. They both knew this moment would decide everything. The council began to list charges. Your history is filled with war, the voice continued. You fight among yourselves. You destroy your own cities. You poison your own world. You have used weapons that burn worlds and break skies. Other species were afraid when you reached the stars. Images appeared in the air. Old battlefields. Burning ships. Ruined planets. James recognized some of them from history lessons. Others were from conflicts humans tried to forget. Emily felt her chest tighten, but she did not look away. You call yourselves peaceful now, the council said. But your past speaks loudly. Silence followed. It pressed down like weight. James took a slow breath. He did not interrupt. He had been warned not to speak unless asked. The council wanted to see how humans handled judgment. Emily remembered the long journey to this place. Weeks of travel through empty space. Long nights thinking about what they could say. What they could not say. Humanity could not deny its past. That much was clear. The council spoke again. Many worlds asked for your removal from shared space. Some demanded isolation. Others demanded punishment. Michael closed his eyes for a moment. He knew how close humanity was to being pushed out forever. Jessica watched the alien judges. She noticed something small but important. Some of them looked unsure. Not angry. Just cautious. That gave her a small hope. One of the judges leaned forward. Its voice came separately from the rest, sharp and curious. Why should we not see you as a danger that will grow stronger with time? James felt his moment arrive. He lifted his head. We are dangerous, he said simply. The chamber reacted. A low murmur spread. James continued, his voice steady. Any species that survives hardship becomes dangerous. We learned to fight because we had to. But we also learned when not to fight. Emily turned slightly toward him, surprised but trusting him fully. James looked at the judges. We made mistakes. We still do. But we learned from them. Every scar in our history changed us. The council waited. Emily spoke next. If you judge us only by our past, then you judge us at our weakest. Judge us by what we choose now. Another image appeared. Human ships escorting damaged alien vessels. Rescue teams pulling survivors from wreckage. Humans standing between civilians and fire. These events were verified, the council said. You helped worlds that offered you nothing. Yes, Emily said. Because help was needed. The council paused again. Time seemed to stretch. Michael felt his hands shaking slightly. He remembered those missions. The fear. The losses. The choice to stay when retreat was easier. Jessica whispered under her breath, "Please see it." A judge on the far side spoke, its tone colder. Many species help when watched. How do we know this is not performance? James answered without hesitation. You don't. Trust is always a risk. The chamber grew quiet again. Emily took a step forward. We stand here unarmed. If you decide against us, we will accept it. But know this. Humanity will keep choosing to protect others, even if we stand alone. That was not part of the prepared words. Michael's eyes widened slightly. Jessica held her breath. The council's lights dimmed, then slowly brightened again. You show acceptance of judgment, the council said. Yet you do not beg. We're not here to beg, James replied. We're here to be honest. The council began to speak among itself, voices overlapping, faster and harder to understand. The sound filled the chamber like a storm. Emily felt the weight of the moment press into her bones. This was bigger than her. Bigger than Earth. It was about whether the galaxy believed people could change. Michael watched the judges carefully. He saw something shift. Not agreement, but attention. The voices stopped. The council will continue its judgment, the main voice said. This hearing is not yet complete. James and Emily stood still. They had said what they could. As guards moved forward to escort them away, Emily glanced back at the chamber one last time. She did not see hatred in the alien faces. She saw something more dangerous and more hopeful. Uncertainty. Michael leaned back slowly, his breath shaking. Jessica rested a hand on his arm. This isn't over, Jessica said softly. No, Michael replied. But for the first time they're listening. As James and Emily were led from the chamber, neither spoke. They did not need to. Humanity had taken its first step, not with force but with truth. The council chamber felt colder than before. David stood at the center this time, alone beneath the wide circle of alien judges. He could feel their attention pressing down on him like weight. Behind the clear barrier, John and Ashley waited, ready to speak when called. This hearing was different. The council no longer wanted promises. They wanted proof. The council has heard your words, the shared voice said. Words are easy. History is not. Show us why humanity should be trusted. David nodded slowly. He had expected this. He reached out and activated the small device on his wrist. Light filled the air, forming moving images. These are not stories, David said. They are records. The first image showed a damaged alien colony ship drifting near a dying star. Its hull was broken, power failing. Smaller human ships moved around it, taking fire from unknown attackers. This was during the border collapse, David said. Humans were ordered to retreat. The risk was too high. The image changed. A human captain shook his head and stayed. Human ships moved closer, shielding the colony ship with their own bodies. They stayed anyway, David said quietly. The council watched in silence as images continued. Humans pulling injured aliens from smoke-filled corridors. Human medics working without rest. Some images froze on faces, fear and focus clear. These humans did not gain land, power, or resources, David continued. They gained graves. A low murmur moved through the chamber. Behind the barrier, Ashley felt her throat tighten. She remembered that mission. The long hours. The silence afterward. The image shifted again. A small moon cracked and burning. A weak species trapped on the surface as their world fell apart. Human evacuation ships landed again and again while the ground broke beneath them. Why intervene? One judge asked sharply. That world held no value. John was allowed to speak now. He stepped forward. It held lives. The judge paused. John continued, his voice calm. We knew we could not save everyone. But we saved who we could. That mattered to us. More records appeared. Human ships forming defensive lines around refugee fleets. Human soldiers standing between civilians and attacking forces. Moments where retreat orders were delayed. Moments where restraint was chosen over destruction. Ashley stepped forward next. These records also show restraint, she said. Here. She highlighted an image of a human fleet facing an enemy station. Weapons charged. Power ready. We had the strength to erase them, Ashley said. But the station held prisoners. So we waited. We negotiated. We lost ships while doing so. One judge leaned forward. Why? Because victory that costs innocent lives is not victory to us, Ashley replied. The council reviewed the data in silence. Time passed slowly. Some judges remained still, unreadable. Others shifted in their seats. You still fight, a judge said. You still kill. David did not deny it. Yes, we are not perfect. We are still learning. But every war teaches us something. And we choose better more often than before. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the council processed the information. A judge spoke again, its tone skeptical. These actions may be rare. They are not, John said. They are common. They simply do not make noise. Ashley added, we do not record them for praise. We record them to remember who we want to be. Silence followed. David felt sweat on his palms but kept his posture steady. He knew doubt did not vanish in one moment. It cracked slowly. The council spoke among itself again, quieter this time. Less anger. More questions. One judge asked, would you protect a world that feared you? David answered without pause. We already have. The images shifted again. A world that had once fired on human scouts. Years later, human relief ships arrived after a disaster. Ashley lowered her voice. Fear does not remove responsibility. The council chamber felt different now. Not warmer, but less sharp. Some judges looked away from the images. Others studied them closely. Your proof is accepted for review, the council finally said. Not all members are convinced. David nodded. We did not expect all of you to be. John exhaled slowly. Ashley rested her hands together, steadying herself. As they stepped back, David glanced at the council one last time. He saw what he had hoped for. Not trust, but doubt. And doubt, he knew, was the beginning of change. Behind the barrier, the human observers exchanged quiet looks. Humanity had not been cleared. Not yet. But the wall had cracked. The council lights dimmed again, signaling the end of the session. Outside the chamber, David let out a breath he felt he had been holding for years. He knew the verdict was still ahead. But proof had been placed where words could not reach. And somewhere in the vast chamber behind them, the idea that humans were only destroyers no longer stood unchallenged. The council station was silent when the first warning sounded. It was not loud. It was a soft, rising tone that slid through the halls like a shadow. For a moment, no one reacted. Then the lights flickered. Daniel felt it through the floor before he heard the reports. A deep vibration rolled through the station, strong enough to rattle the walls. He looked up from his console and met Lauren's eyes across the command deck. They both knew at the same time. This is not a test, Daniel said. Before any order came from the council, alarms erupted. Red light washed over the chamber. The calm voices of the judges broke into sharp confusion as defense systems failed one by one. Unknown breach, a station voice reported. Multiple points of entry. Shields collapsing. The massive doors of the council chamber trembled. Outside, something struck the station with force again and again. The sound echoed like distant thunder. Some council members rose from their seats. Others froze. The guards hesitated, waiting for orders that did not come. Lauren moved first. Human crews with me, she said into her calm. Her voice was clear, steady. We move now. No one asked for permission. Human ships docked nearby powered up. Boarding teams moved through corridors already filling with smoke. Daniel led one group toward the outer ring where the breach reports were strongest. The station shook again. A section of the ceiling cracked, raining debris onto the floor. Alien guards pulled back, unsure of the threat they faced. Dark shapes forced their way through broken hull plating, fast and violent, tearing through systems instead of seeking life. They're not here to talk, Daniel said. Lauren's team reached a junction where panicked council aides clustered, unable to move forward or back. Lauren stepped in front of them without thinking, raising her shield as energy fire tore through the hall. Stay behind us, she said simply. Humans formed a line. The attackers surged forward, striking hard. Human defenders held their ground. Daniel's team rerouted power as sparks flew, hands moving fast even as the station screamed around them. Main systems are failing, an engineer shouted. Then we make them work anyway, Daniel replied. Lauren's shield cracked, but she did not step back. A blast threw her against the wall. She stood again, blood on her forehead, eyes focused. Line holds, she said. Elsewhere in the station, humans moved through fire and smoke. They carried injured council members. They sealed broken doors with their own bodies until systems rebooted. They dragged cables across open gaps in the hull to restore power. No council order called them to do this. No reward waited. They acted because the station was breaking and lives were inside. In the council chamber, judges watched through emergency displays. They saw human figures standing where defenses had failed. They saw humans taking hits meant for others. A judge spoke quietly, almost to itself. They were not commanded. The station rocked again as one attacker breached deeper systems. Daniel rerouted power manually, burning his hands on hot metal. Power restored, he said through clenched teeth. Lauren's team pushed forward, forcing the attackers back toward the breach. Human ships outside opened fire, precise and controlled, sealing the opening without destroying the station. Slowly the alarms softened. The attackers withdrew as suddenly as they had come. Silence followed, broken only by crackling systems and labored breathing. Human crews did not celebrate. They checked the wounded. They repaired what they could. Lauren lowered her shield and finally sat down, exhaustion hitting her all at once. Daniel leaned against a wall, shaking. In the council chamber, the lights steadied. The judges looked at one another. No one spoke for a long moment. The station still stood. A council voice finally broke the silence. You were not asked to intervene. Daniel answered through the open channel. You didn't need to ask. Lauren added, her voice tired but firm, "We protect what's in front of us." The council did not reply at once. Across the station, retreating forces returned slowly. Alien guards took back positions that humans had held. But something had changed. The council had not just seen records. They had seen choice. And that choice had held the line when the galaxy's highest power could not. The alarms faded slowly, like a storm moving far away. Smoke hung in the air of the council station, thin and gray, drifting through broken lights and cracked walls. The attack was over, but the silence that followed felt heavy and strange. James stood near the main chamber entrance, leaning against a damaged console. Blood ran down his arm where a piece of metal had torn through his sleeve. His face was pale but his eyes stayed sharp. A medical officer reached for him. "You need to move," the officer said. "This area isn't safe yet." James shook his head. "Not until everyone here is clear." Another tremor shook the floor, weaker this time. The officer looked at James, then at the council members gathering behind the human line. Slowly the officer stepped back and helped someone else instead. Across the chamber, Emily moved calmly between groups of shaken judges. She spoke softly, guiding them away from damaged sections, helping them sit, helping them breathe. Her uniform was burned in places, her hands stained with ash, but her voice never shook. The council members watched her closely. They had seen humans fight. That did not surprise them. They had seen humans bleed. That also did not surprise them. What they did not understand was why the humans were still here. A judge spoke through the chamber speakers, quieter than before. "The threat has retreated. Your evacuation ships are ready." Emily paused and looked toward James. He was still standing, still watching the broken hallway where the attack had come through. "He won't leave," Emily said gently. The judge asked, "Why?" Emily turned back to the council. "Because someone might still need help." James heard her words and allowed himself a small breath. The pain in his arm burned, but he stayed where he was. Each second felt long. Each sound made his muscles tense. Alien guards returned slowly, taking positions humans had held minutes before. Some avoided eye contact. Others looked directly at the humans with open confusion. A council member approached Emily, moving carefully. "You could have escaped," it said. "Your ships were ready before the breach was sealed." Emily nodded. "Yes." "Why did you stay?" Emily did not answer right away. She looked around the chamber. At the broken floor. At the scorched walls. At the humans sitting beside injured council aides, offering water, offering quiet words. "We stayed," Emily said, "because leaving would have been wrong." The judge tilted its head. "Wrong according to what rule?" Emily met its gaze. "According to us." The council fell silent. James finally lowered himself to one knee as the pain caught up with him. A human medic rushed to his side. "You're done," the medic said firmly. "You've done enough." James looked past him. "Are they safe?" The medic glanced around. "Yes." Only then did James allow himself to be helped away. The council chamber lights brightened slowly as emergency systems returned. Displays showed the station holding together. Casualty reports came in. Losses were counted, but the station still stood. The judges gathered again, not in their high seats but closer to the floor. Closer to the humans. One judge spoke, its voice uncertain. "You were judged for your past violence." Emily stood still, listening. "You were given no command to defend us," the judge continued. "No promise of reward." Emily nodded. "We know." Another judge added, "Yet you chose to protect." "Yes," Emily said simply. "Even when escape was possible?" "Yes." The council exchanged quiet words among themselves. This time there was no anger in their voices. Only confusion and something new. Doubt. James, now seated against the wall, listened as a medic wrapped his arm. He felt tired in a deep way but calm. Michael and Jessica entered the chamber carefully, their faces tight with worry when they saw James. He gave them a small nod to show he was alive. Jessica looked at Emily, then at the council. "They saw it," she whispered to Michael. Michael nodded. "They can't unsee it." A judge turned back to Emily. "Do you expect gratitude for this?" Emily shook her head. "No." "Recognition?" "No." "Then why act?" Emily thought for a moment. Not because she needed the answer but because the council did. "Because doing the right thing should not depend on who is watching," she said. The words hung in the air. The council chamber felt different now. Not safer. Not healed. But changed. For the first time, the judges were not looking at humanity as a problem to solve. They were looking at humans as a question they had never asked before. James closed his eyes briefly as the pain dulled. He knew the judgment was not over. But something important had shifted. Humanity had not argued. Humanity had acted. And the Council, for all its power and long memory, was beginning to question whether it had truly understood humans at all. The Council chamber was quiet again, but it was not the same silence as before. The broken walls had been repaired. The lights were steady. The judges sat in their high seats, watching the humans gathered below. James stood with his arm wrapped, Emily beside him. David, John, Ashley, Daniel, and Lauren stood nearby. Michael and Jessica waited just behind them. Michael felt his chest tighten. This was the moment everything led to. No alarms. No fighting. Only judgment. The main council voice filled the chamber, calm and clear. The Galactic Council has reached its verdict. No one moved. For many cycles, humanity has been observed with fear. Your history of conflict marked you as unstable. Dangerous. James kept his eyes forward. Emily's hands were still. You were summoned to answer for this, the voice continued. You were not asked to defend us. You were not asked to sacrifice. The lights dimmed slightly as images appeared in the air. Humans shielding council members. Human crews repairing failing systems. James standing wounded but unmoving. You chose action over escape, the council said. Protection over safety. Restraint over destruction. Michael felt a slow breath leave his body. A species judged only by its past cannot change, the council continued. A species judged by its choices can. The chamber stayed silent. The council removes humanity's classification as a danger. Emily closed her eyes for a brief second. From this moment forward, the voice said, humanity is recognized as a guardian species. A low sound spread through the chamber. Not anger. Not applause. Something like agreement. James exhaled slowly. Earth is welcomed as an equal member of the galactic community. Michael felt his vision blur. Jessica reached for his hand without looking. You will not rule, the council added. You will not command. Emily nodded once. We did not ask to. You will stand, the council said. As you already have. The judges rose from their seats, one by one. The judgment was complete. Human delegates did not cheer. No one shouted. The moment was too heavy for that. As the council hall began to empty, alien officials moved past humans without guards between them. Some nodded. Some paused, unsure, then continued on. James sat down slowly on a bench near the wall, the pain in his arm reminding him he was still human. Emily sat beside him. We did it, James said quietly. Emily shook her head. We did what we always do. Across the hall, Daniel and Lauren spoke softly with station crews, helping where they could. David reviewed final reports. John and Ashley stood together, watching the chamber empty. Michael remained where he was, looking around the vast space. This room had once felt like a courtroom. Now it felt like a turning point. Jessica noticed his expression. What are you thinking? Michael considered the question. He thought about the records. The fighting. The long years of fear and effort. I think, he said slowly, that history didn't change because we were strong. Jessica waited. It changed because we stayed. They watched as the last of the council members left the chamber. The massive doors closed with a soft sound, not a slam. Emily stood and looked up at the ceiling, where faint lights still drifted like stars. They'll watch us, she said. They should, James replied. Michael walked to the center of the chamber and stopped where the humans had stood during judgment. He imagined future records being written. Not about weapons. Not about wars. About choice. He turned back to the others. Let's go home. As the human group left the council hall together, no guards followed them. No barriers stood in their way. Behind them, the chamber stood empty, holding the echo of a verdict that reshaped the galaxy. Humanity had not been forgiven. Humanity had been understood.